Welcome to the SunDried Tomatoes Podcast. I'm your host and creator, Anthony Yotso. If you're watching on YouTube, you could also find the audio-only version of the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Stitcher. Please follow, download, and subscribe where applicable. For those listening to the audio version, of course, I also have a video version on the SunDried Tomatoes YouTube channel, so you can go subscribe there as well, and also check out some other shows that will feature sports, brewing, food, and music, including a show, Random Reactions, some other videos on the NFL Draft, European football, or soccer in the U.S., and a few newer series, Legends of the Diamond, where I talk about some of the greatest ball players of all time that weren't allowed to play in the major leagues from the late 1800s to early mid 1900s. Brewing the Facts, where I show you the process of home brewing my raspberry jalapeno wheat ale and talk about some interesting brewing facts, such as brewing in medieval times and the origins of beer pong. I also have a new fantasy football show with a little bit of a twist that comes out every Thursday until the end of the fantasy football season. The Quest for the Green Bowl, The Shadows of Chaos. Learn how the league is fearing this season and check out my epic sci-fi post-apocalyptic theme where we have all been transported into the future to win an ancient relic, our trophy, in order to save the world from chaotic living shadows. You can also follow me on Instagram at eclectic_Yotso. That's ECLECTIC_IOZZO. I'll have updates, teasers, and short videos to go along with all my YouTube content, including weekly updates for my fantasy football league for those interested. Plus, you might be able to get to know me better. Today, I am joined by Matt Marek in a special episode about a little bit about town baseball here, which I'm pretty excited about. Hope everything's going well for you today, Matt.
Yeah, no, going well. I tell you what, I need to get some of that raspberry jalapeno wheat ale. That sounds pretty good. So I'll have to sample some of that at some point. But yeah, no. Other than that, things going great. We're about 5 or 6 weeks out from the end of the town ball season. Kind of just getting back to real life. Spending more time with the family. Back. I'm, like I mentioned, I'm being more productive at work these days, and kind of the same with the rest of the team. They're back at school, back at work, spend more time with the families. Kind of just kind of back in the groove of real life, so to speak. So.
Yeah, and actually, we could get to talk about that even more later because that's one of the things I'm always fascinated, with town baseball. Because of that kind of old school factor where, back in the day, guys didn't get paid millions of dollars, even in the majors. They had to have jobs, they had to be dry cleaners in the off season or things like that. So I think that's kind of the raw form of the game, but we could talk about that a little bit later. I do want to tell everyone a little bit about Matt here. For those that don't know, he graduated from East Grand Forks High School in Minnesota in 2002, was an honor student, earned 5 letters in baseball, named to the all-conference team all 5 seasons. Was also a 2002 subsection player of the year. He also played basketball and football in high school, was an all-conference player in 2001 in football and all-conference player in 01-02 in basketball. So he's a 3-sport athlete there. He went to NJCAA Division II Iowa Central in 2003 and 2004, was named second team all-region as a freshman playing baseball. Also helped Iowa Central takes second in the NJCAA Division II World Series. In 2004, he was named National Defensive Player of the Year and was once again second team all-region. Of course, this is as a catcher. In 2005 and 2006, he went to NCAA Division I Campbell University, played 31 games for Campbell in 2005, started 26 of them as a catcher, 6 multi-hit games, 3 multi-RBI games, including games against UNC Wilmington, Stetson, and Appalachian State. Those obviously highlighted his freshman season where he was named to the Atlantic Sun Conference All-Academic Team. Some good statistics, 24 for 89, 11 RBIs, 7 runs scored. In 2006, he was 20 for 99, 10 RBIs and 8 runs scored, 151 putouts, 20 assists, no errors, also threw out 10 of 35 base stealers. And of course, Matt is now the manager/catcher for the Champlin Logators, which play in Class B in the Metro Minny League in the Minnesota Baseball Association. Champlin, which is a city north of the Twin Cities, plays their home games at Noble Sports Park and Brooklyn Park, which is right on the border of Champlin and Brooklyn Park. Matt has been with the team for 11 seasons now, I believe. You can correct me if I'm wrong. It was started back in '06, but the club is on the upswing here lately. 6 straight Class B state amateur appearances, a recent 3rd place overall finish at state this past year. So, obviously on the upswing. The Logators play out of the Metro Minny League, like I said. Other neighboring towns, for those that maybe don't know the area: Blaine, Forest Lake, Coon Rapids have teams, St. Michael, Anoka, Andover, and Centennial. Matt is also the secretary treasurer of the Metro Minny League, which runs all these teams. So, just obviously that's a rundown of the things that he's done and how much he's been in baseball. So Matt, the first thing I do want to talk about is, what made you get into playing town ball after college? What made you want to keep playing the sport? And did you know about town ball before you joined a team, or was it something that just came about?
Yeah, it was more along the lines of kind of just came about. So I started playing town baseball in 2006 with my hometown team in East Grand Forks. And I just finished up at Campbell my senior year. I was planning on going to grad school at St. Cloud State. And I was just going to be home, at least for that summer. I really didn't have any plans beyond that summer. And a lot of the guys that I grew up playing with, since from the time I was, 7, 8 years old, they were playing for our town team in East Grand Forks. And, I love the game so much, I wasn't ready to stop playing. So, what better way to, kind of wrap up, my career, so to speak, at the time, what I thought, playing with, some of the guys that, I grew up in and known my whole life. Yeah. East Grand Forks, being in the northwest part of the state, there's not like a very, there's not a whole lot of town ball teams up there. And it's not like town ball in the northwest part of the state, basically north of, I'd say, Alexandria, Fergus Falls. It's kind of a different world town ball wise. So basically what I knew was, my friends were playing. I still wanted to play, and it kind of just came to fruition that I played that summer. It was probably the funnest I'd had playing baseball. In a while. I played Division I baseball. I played at a very high level, but there's something about playing with your best friends and the guys you grew up playing with. That's just really special. So I kind of got started in town ball in 2006. I ended up playing 2006, 7, and 8 for East Grand Forks while I was in grad school. And I really got my first taste of what town ball is in Minnesota in 2007. We made it. We qualified for the state C tournament, ironically in Hamburg that year. We got to play a Winstead team that ended up finishing 4th in that year's state tournament in the first round, losing in extra innings. And what that first round state tournament game really opened up my eyes to what town ball could be. If you're familiar with the Twin Cities area, even the areas kind of just west of the cities, Winstead is about 10 minutes away from Hamburg. So we were playing Winstead in Hamburg. Essentially, it was a home game for Winstead. There was probably about, I would say, 800 or 900 people at that game. And Wow. It was just an unreal atmosphere. And it was something I never conceived could be possible in town ball. So that kind of gave me a taste of what it was, a big taste. Earlier that summer too, we found our way into the Nimrod tournament, which is one of the more notorious tournaments in town ball. It's kind of a party disguised as a baseball tournament, essentially. So I have a family half hour away from Nimrod. So we ended up going to that tournament and seeing some new teams and kind of, experiencing the off the field, the off the field camaraderie and experiences of town ball in that tournament. So that 2007 year really kind of opened my eyes to, what town ball was about in Minnesota. And then obviously the next year, 2008, we lost in the region tournament, but I was lucky enough to be drafted by Ada as a catcher. Back then, catchers could get drafted too in the Class C tournament. So I ended up playing in the 2008 state tournament with Ada, and actually faced Forest Lake in the first round game that year. Ended up facing one of my now teammates on Champlin, Ryan Bruns. He was a draftee for Forest Lake for that state tournament. Yeah. And me and Bruns had actually played together with the St. Cloud River Bats in the Northwoods League as well. So, I mean, really the combination of, kind of the 2007 and 2008 seasons really, kind of opened my eyes to town ball, and, it was an amazing experience. And, unfortunately after that, I moved, after I was done with grad school in the summer of 2009, I took an internship in the Northwoods League on the marketing side with the Mankato team. And then the 2009-10 school year, I moved to Omaha, worked at Creighton University. And then I didn't play town ball from the summers of 2009 to 2011 until I moved back to the Twin Cities area with my now wife. So, but yeah, I mean, like I said, the 2007-8 with East Grand Forks kind of set the stage for, I guess, where I'm at right now in terms of, town ball and still being a part of it.
Yeah, that is interesting when you talked about, sort of getting into the town ball experience, maybe didn't know a lot about it. I always find that interesting because going back through history, those kind of small town teams were huge in the United States. I actually always compare them to how European soccer is, so how there's a soccer team in every, town, and they have leagues and everything set up obviously for soccer, and it's big there. But baseball used to be like that. Scouts would come to these games. I covered the Home Talent League in Wisconsin for a long time when I worked there. And, stuff goes all the way back to the 1920s. I helped, do a book with the Middleton team because they wanted to do like a historical book. So I looked up a lot of historical like records and things like that. I found old letters from scouts from the Cincinnati Reds, like scouting guys in the 30s. Like, it's just, I always find that amazing how big it was. And then there was kind of a weird die off in the 70s, 80s. And there's not a lot of information on why that happened. I don't know if it's because the NFL started to get big and football started to get big, or if, maybe the minor leagues became a little bit bigger. So it took away some of the smaller town, people going to games. Because, I mean, in the 20s and 30s and before television too, you get like thousands of people at some of these games in some of these places, which is pretty amazing. But I always find that amazing because I also have friends who've played baseball and haven't been into it, or they played and then went to college and decided to, focus on academics instead of playing. And I tell them about town ball and they're like, wait, really? That's a thing, and then they go look it up. And I tell them like, yeah, look up where you are, see if there's a team. Cause they still want to play. They just didn't want to play like at the college level because they wanted to focus on academics and everything. But I mean, was that kind of something too? Like when you just kind of discovered it, was it just some friends saying like, hey, we got a team in East Grand Forks, you want to join? Was it something like that?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how it was. I mean, I was aware of the team before probably a year or two before I joined. Like I said, I was playing I was playing in the Northwoods League.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I still kept in contact with my buddies. So I knew there was a team. And, I in the back of my head, I'm like, if I'm ever back in the summer, I'm definitely in. I'm definitely playing, that sort of thing. Yeah, it was more so, like I said, it's more so my buddies had a team, and I didn't know, I knew they played, the teams in our, that part of the state, Ada, Warroad, Roseau, Crookston, Bemidji, obviously, like I said, not a ton of teams. Those are pretty much the teams we played. Yeah. Moorhead Brewers, that sort of thing. So, we only played 6 or 7 different teams a year just because, it's still like that up there too, is there's just not the amount of teams. So you don't, you just don't get the exposure to it. And like I said, if you want to go, beyond that, I mean, Fergus Falls is, a very, very good C team historically, and we played them in Legion Ball in like our region, but, it's that's an hour, 45-minute drive away from East Grand Forks. So we never played them for town ball. Cause I mean, that's a good track. I mean, even, and, with Warroad and Rose, I mean, those are 2-hour drives. So, I mean, you're driving a lot to play baseball. You really got to love the game and love the guys you're around to do it. So, but yeah, I mean, back to, it's basically, I just knew they were playing, and it was all my buddies from high school. And, and my love for the game never, really wavered. And, my love for those guys is, never wavered. And, it was just a no brainer when I was back in the summers to be a part of it. So,
yeah, for sure.
But
all right. So also now going on to, you ended up joining Champlin later, obviously. So, what went into that? And, you're obviously getting acclimated into a different league where, as you said before, maybe not so many games, East Grand Forks, not so many teams you can play. Obviously, a lot more teams in the metro area, and a lot more opportunities for games. And a lot of these towns are very close, so you can play a lot of teams, So, I mean, that had to be you had to get acclimated into that. And, obviously there's different challenges going on. So, I mean, how did you know about Champlin, and who got you into that team? And what were those challenges to join that team?
Yeah. So, I mean, the guy that got me into the team, is a guy by the name Ryan Kilpatrick. I actually worked with him at me and my wife were trying to move back to the Twin Cities area after I had, been in Omaha, and I got a job at the Minnesota School of Business. And Ryan was one of my coworkers there, basically within the first, week, of knowing each other. I mentioned I played baseball. He's like, oh, I got this town team, and this is fall of 2010. However, with the way the roster rules work in Minnesota, if you want to play in Class B or Class C baseball, you have to live basically outside of the 694 loop.
Okay.
At that time, I was just inside the loop, living in Plymouth at that time. So I couldn't play on the team. That particular, I mean, I probably could have done some paperwork gymnastics, so to speak, to make it happen. But, I hadn't played in, a couple of years at that point. And, I wasn't 100% sure that I quite wanted to do it. I'd inquired with other teams, and then kind of, just didn't kind of pull the trigger on it. And, part of it was kind of, worrying about not playing for a couple of years, and then jumping back, into, Class B, essentially Class B and Class A baseball, which was probably kind of a stupid thought, on my part, looking back at it. Just, I played Division I baseball. I mean, there's no reason I shouldn't have been able to do it, but for whatever reason, I was kind of worried about it a little bit. So about a year and a half later, me and my wife bought a house just literally about 2 blocks outside the loop in Brooklyn Center. And, just talking to Ryan, I'm like, yeah, I think I'm ready to do it again. And, 2012 was, my first year with the team. I kind of played, I'd say, about half the games that year. And then the next couple of years, I was pretty much there, day in, day out, playing wise, that sort of thing. So, I mean, Ryan really got me into it. He's a great dude. He was, he's still, we still talk every now and again. He stops out to some games, but Ryan's the one that got me into it. And, it's looking back on it, I'm glad he was as persistent as he was, over the course of about 2 years to kind of get me back in the game. So.
Yeah, for sure. When, obviously you're taking on managerial type duties now. So when did you kind of take over that? When did you decide to get more involved with maybe recruiting and, handling that side of the job as well?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't officially the manager until I think it was 2016. I officially kind of took over as manager that year. I actually had shoulder surgery in the spring of 2016, so I was out that whole year.
Okay.
So that's kind of when I officially took it over. I'd done a little bit of help on the scheduling side, and trying to do a little bit of recruiting, not much before that. But 2016 was really my first year kind of handling a lot of the duties. And then, Wayne Hoyer, Jeff Hoyer's dad, it's kind of me and him 2016, but 17 is when, I kind of, I guess 100% took it over. I was doing a lot of it in 2016, but 2017, I was kind of full at that point. That's, it was one of those, it's kind of one of those things that's, it's kind of a thankless job. But it's vitally important to the success of a town ball team, to have a good committed manager, kind of running things and just allowing guys to, play and not worry, try not to worry too much about, all the ancillary stuff, that goes into running a team. But, it's been a pretty good run so far. It's one of those things, and kind of one of the reasons I kind of took it on too is, after I left East Grand Forks, 2008 was my last season. They played one more year in 2009, and then, they folded. It was basically me and another guy running that team kind of hand in hand as well. Okay. And then I left, and then the next year he took a teaching job at Bismarck, and it's kind of one of those things that, if I said to myself, if I was ever in that situation again, that I wouldn't let that happen again, and, obviously the first time around with East Grand Forks, there's nothing I could really do about it, being, in Omaha, and then, kind of being, moving to the cities. It was kind of sad to see, that team, my East Grand Forks, there's been a couple iterations since, but seeing my team fold kind of, it bugged me a little bit. I understood why, but, like I said, I kind of made a point, if I ever got in that situation, that I wouldn't let it happen again. So, those guys meant, too much to me, and, the guys on this team mean a lot to me too. And, I'm just, I'll do, I'm, like I said, I won't let it happen again. So that was kind of a big reason for, kind of taking the reins too. It's just, I didn't want to see it go away. So.
Yeah. That makes sense. Obviously that's one of the challenges of a lot of town ball teams is, things happen and because people have lives, and, it's not like you're only playing baseball. So it's like a whole thing trying to get everybody together. And I'm sure, if a team has a tough year, sometimes that's tough as well. I've seen it happen in Wisconsin in the home talent league, where a team folded and then it would come back later, or another team would fold and then never come back, right. The people in the town would always talk about how tough that was too, because they enjoyed playing it, seeing it in their town, like it gave them an identity almost for some of those towns. A lot of those towns were literally just like a baseball field in a cornfield. So it's like, it was, and the field's still there, but it's just, it's kind of crazy to think. I think a lot of people don't see that kind of part of it too, that there's a big challenge in making sure that the team stays around. And everybody stays together kind of. And like you said, the manager plays a big role in that. So you took over as manager. And like you said, you were kind of recovering from surgery. So obviously you can kind of take on all the duties since you weren't going to play anyway that year. What was it a little different when you could play and now you're managing and playing, or, did it not really matter that much?
It's a different sort of, right away it was challenging, it's something, sometimes it's easier to see some things from the bench, than it is when you're on the field. Obviously when you're on the field playing, you're pretty wrapped up in the game, especially as a catcher too. Yeah. Like as a catcher, everybody that follows baseball knows I'm in on every single pitch, It's not like I'm sitting in right field or center field, and can kind of take a step back and kind of look at the whole picture of what's going on, and kind of, really think about, from a managerial standpoint, thinking about the roster, who I have on the bench, who's coming up, who's pitching for them, who may be pitching for them, that sort of thing. That's the challenge. Is the whole chess match of the game's a little bit more difficult when you're playing. I think I've kind of finally gotten the hang of it a little, a little bit better. But I mean, those first 2 years, I definitely had a few guys, help me out, with that sort of thing. Yeah. That would be on the bench, mention things to me that, I had kind of forgot about, or, hadn't seen, or it's, there's multiple times where, I would want to, I was talking about taking out a guy that I had already taken out and re-entered. So then he'd be, little stuff like that you kind of forget about because you don't have the book, you don't have the lineup card in front of you. So, guys like, Ryan Udis and Nick Larson and Zach Nienaber and Wayne Hoyer, they were, they've, those first couple of years, and even to this day, they've been, incredibly helpful, especially, when I'm on the field playing. It's a different animal, when you're playing, and it's it took me a few years to really get it down. And I mean, not to say that I have it down now, but I feel a little more comfortable doing it now than I did 5 years ago. So
yeah, and I could definitely see that too, because there's a lot, to the casual fan, maybe they don't see it, but anyone that watches a lot of baseball obviously knows there's a lot going on to the game. Pre-pitch, post-pitch, and as a catcher, obviously you're also trying to get your infield, where they want to be, and those types of things. And, maybe talk to your pitcher about, how to approach the batter that's coming up, things like that, which is kind of managerial in and of itself. But then there's all the other little things that you have to worry about. And that's a lot of stuff to be on someone's plate, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. Funny, as a catcher too, as a catcher, I have to remember that, I have to send somebody else out for the pregame meeting and like designate them as manager. Because if I don't do that, and I go to the pregame meeting as the manager, and then I'm catching that day, and I try to go out to the mound, that counts as a mound visit, right? And if I do it twice, I got to take the pitcher out. Yeah. So there's technically I designate a manager, when I'm playing, so I don't get banged for that sort of thing.
That makes sense.
But, it's another aspect of being a player manager that, people wouldn't think about, and you look, it's kind of funny. You look at a couple of our state tournament games, especially the last one against Meesville, the way we threw the kitchen sink at them. We emptied out just about everybody we had in that game. And, obviously I didn't play that game. If I'm playing in that game, starting in that game, it's maybe I don't think to make some of those moves at the time that, I do make them, obviously we lost. So, I didn't make all the right moves, but it's one of those things that, you're so caught up in the game and performing to the best of your ability. You don't think about a lot of, some of the logistical stuff, the in-game strategy that, might be easier to see from, sitting on the bench and, watching from the side. So,
yeah, for sure. And obviously you talked about the Class B state game against Meesville, and I do want to talk about that. We've talked about it, interviewing you for the Sun Post, but it must have been, it must be pretty awesome, obviously, to see the success that you guys have had the past few seasons. With when you started at Champlin, you kind of had this like building process to get to this point to be competitive every year, you came close, obviously, to winning a title, taking third. And with the roster that you have, I'm guessing you're thinking the same thing. Probably not the last chance that you're going to have a shot here, especially, how close you were against Meesville and how close you were against, Chanhassen. So, when you when you look back to when you joined, seeing what you helped build here in the last couple of years, with your other fellow veterans that have been there as well, just what's that mean to you to be able to get this done? Does that go into, being a part of a town ball team? You're part of this Champlin team. You got this identity, and then you kind of build to this, and now you can have some sustained success here and be, kind of put Champlin on the map.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, I guess on a personal level, it's gratifying, and it's really, I guess it's a small reward for kind of all the work that we've put in to make the team what it is, from an on the field standpoint and off the field standpoint. I mean, 2000, what was it? So 2012, we were a below average team. 2013, I think we were below 500, but we made a really good run in the playoffs and made it to super sections, which is kind of the equivalent of the first round of the state tournament. Now they kind of divided. Back in super section days, they took 4 pods of 4, and then they took the top 2 out of each of those pods or whatever. So we ended up making the super section in 2013. We didn't have a very good record. We weren't the greatest team. We kind of just got hot at the right time and playing. We ended up playing really good balls on super sections too.
Okay.
So 2000 off season 2013. I won't go into the details, but off season of 2013, we almost got kicked out of the league. And if and I won't go into details, but if we would have got kicked out of the league, this team would not exist at all, probably. So there was a league vote. It was actually, we got a vote in the process, and the vote came out to a tie. So we got put on probation. And that kind of woke us up a little bit. So 2014, we actually had a very good year. I think we had 20 wins, 26 or something like that. And, we just kind of fell flat on our faces in the playoffs. And then 2015, just not a good year. And at that time, we knew we needed to make some changes roster wise. And that's kind of when we started to bring in some of the young guys. 2016, obviously we make our first state tournament. We kind of get humbled by Moorhead. We progressively got more competitive from there. But yeah, I mean, this year finishing in third and really being right on the doorstep of the state championship game is really is just, a culmination of the work of the last 6, 7, 8 years, not only by myself, but guys like Nick Larson, Ryan Udis, who've been here since the beginning, Ryan Bruns, who's been here since 2007. And, a lot of the other guys that have been around for 7, 8, 9, 10 years even. So, yeah, I mean, we think we got a shot. We're right there. And, hopefully, like you said, I think we'll have a shot, whether it be next year, 2 years, 3 years, with the roster we have, we feel pretty good about, where we're at. So.
And, and talking about just the grind too, that town baseball has, because I do want to get to that. Obviously, like you said before, you have to enjoy the game playing up in the Northwest when you have to drive all those times. It must be important for you to continue to want to play, because it is kind of a grind when you have jobs and school for some kids, some of the players, and there's all this outside stuff that goes on, outside the game. And I mean, you play a lot of games for your amateur baseball season. I mean, you played, over 45 this year, something like that. The Sunday league in Wisconsin for their home talent league, they play every Sunday, and then they'll have their playoffs and everything. By the end of it, they play like a 25 game season, but then they'll have Thursday games too, but they tend to bring in younger kids and maybe not have the regular roster for those. That's like a Thursday that they do. So altogether, when you add it all up, they play about 35 games too. But it is, you're playing every week for a long time, and might play, Class B amateur baseball, you're playing like 3-4 times a week, sometimes when you have rainouts and things like that. Yeah. Obviously there's that grind. So baseball must be very important to you to be able to do that. So I do want to, sort of talk about that, what does the game, like, what about the game do you love? Like what got you into baseball? What got you going to college to play baseball? And what keeps you coming back especially in the town ball atmosphere of, you'll have fans in the state. Obviously it could get pretty crazy. And, it's just every pit. It's just like, when you watch playoffs for any Major League Baseball fans, you watch playoffs, every pitch counts. Well, it's like that in town baseball too. So, I mean, just, what about that is important to you?
Yeah. I mean, getting into baseball, I mean, just growing up, my dad is a high school coach, basically every sport, most notably 20 years of softball, 20 years of basketball. But he played baseball at the University of North Dakota back in the day. My younger brother also played at the University of North Dakota. He also went to Iowa Central, same college I went to. And, he really fostered a love of the game in me, and just a love of competition. I'm a very, very competitive person. I really have to harness it in, when I'm on the field, that sort of thing. But, that's kind of where it all started. He was a baseball guy first and foremost. And, he was my, number one supporter, number one instructor, coach, you name it. He was, he really fostered the game. And my brother, and it's, it never left, and probably never will. But, kind of getting, talking to kind of the structure of the season, we ended up playing, 50 games this year, which is pretty crazy, for a town ball team. Regardless, I mean, there's a handful of teams will play that. St. Louis Park generally plays a lot of games. Blaine used to play a lot in the past, not as much these days. I know Montrose, Waverly likes to play a lot of games. Minnetonka will play a lot of games. And that, I'll play. That kind of comes back to kind of just the love of the game, and not just for myself, but just for the guys on the team. Guys just want to play ball. And, I talk to the guys all the time in the off season, where do you want to play? Who do you want to play? How many games do you want to play? And, every time especially the last 2 years, we'll play wherever, whoever, whenever, that sort of thing. So, baseball, I understand with town ball, a lot of us have jobs, families, obligations. So it doesn't always make sense to, play the schedule that we do, but, we're kind of at the point where, our veterans, either, don't have kids, or, we do, like I said, we do have a lot of, younger, college guys, just out of college guys that are kind of in that situation. But even a lot of the veterans on the team, it's no kids, or they have, wives, girlfriends, significant others that are very supportive of kind of what we do. And that's kind of, that's another one of the little, it's not really a dirty little secret, but, kind of one of the formulas for, a successful town ball team is, really the support of the significant others, of the players. That's really a big part of it. And, the second part of it is, just commitment, and just looking over, some of our stats from this year. We had, I think there's three guys over, that had over 180 plate appearances on the summer, that's more than you'll get in a college season,
Yeah.
And I look back on it, it's just crazy to me that we played 50 games, and because it doesn't feel like it, because, the guys love being around each other. They love being at the park, and they love competing. Yeah. And, for a lot of them, kind of the obligations of life aren't quite there yet.
Yeah.
For a lot of the guys, obviously some of us, they are, but, like I said, we have the support behind us that, allows us to do it. And, baseball, baseball in general, it's not meant to be a 15, 20 game season, in my opinion. And, we're lucky enough to have the support and the infrastructure around us to kind of allow us to play as traditional of a season, I guess, when it comes to baseball as you can get. So, but yeah, like I said, I could, I just love the game, and I love the competition. And it's, like I said, it's one of those things that's been instilled in me since I was 4 years old. And it's, it's never gonna leave me, regardless of how involved to what level I'm involved. It's always going to be there. So
yeah, and actually talking about sort of the town ball fan base. Obviously, family is a big part of it, and friends and things like that. But you also sometimes just get people that want to come out and see a local game. Have a couple beers at a game, things like that at some of the stadiums. And again, you're seeing like kind of a fun, raw version of the game if you enjoy baseball, and it's a good time. So, I mean, from when you started in '06, obviously you're in East Grand Forks, but what kind of, you talked about before, you saw like 900 people at a game on. So, I mean, when you think about the fan bases of the town baseball in the area and all the places that you've played, do you think it's pretty good? Do you think it's kind of gone, on and off, like, raising, lowering, things like that? So, you think it's on the upswing?
It's kind of funny. I was thinking about this when you kind of mentioned kind of the history of town ball. You kind of saw a downswing kind of in the 70s, 80s, maybe even 90s a little, I would say. Like I said, I didn't get into it until 2006, but I've been with Champlin since 2012. And from my standpoint, I think the town ball game is it's gaining back popularity.
Yeah.
And definitely think last year, the pandemic last year kind of helped that a little bit when there was
nothing else. Yeah.
I think that even before that, I would say kind of, 2014, 15, 16, that sort of thing. I think with the advent of, not really the advent, but, teams really embracing social media, particularly Twitter, when it comes to town ball. I think that helped. I think that helped gain, a good amount, traction, from a statewide level, in terms of, people from one corner of the state being, familiar, it's like a Northwestern teams are kind of now a little bit more familiar with teams in the cities, or, a team from, the Marshall area might be familiar with like a North Star League team in the North, the Northwest, outer burbs of the cities. I think that's really helped to grow the game in terms of awareness and just awareness on a statewide level. So I think that's helped a little bit. I think a lot of some of the other promotion you see, like the Fox 9 Town Ball Tour, I think that's helped a great deal in Minnesota.
Yeah.
I think, like I said, social media, the Town Ball Tuesday guys have always, since they popped up, they've really, I think, breathe a breath of fresh air, into the town ball coverage as well. And I mean, if you just look at the state tournament, I think this is the highest, the B and C tournament I think this year is the highest attended state tournament since like 1958 or something, something like that. It was just,
that's amazing.
Incredible year state tournament attendance standpoint. But even just, we don't have the biggest following, it's basically, family, friends, relatives, that sort of thing, maybe a few others. But even in the last 3 or 4 years, I've gotten random messages on Facebook and Twitter just asking about when the game is. And, we'll get a handful of, people like that will come out to the game, which would have been, just crazy to think about, 10 years ago. We're not pulling in hundreds of or anything like that, like the teams in the Crow or the Crow River Valley League or the North Star League or, some of those Stearns County League teams. But I think interest is kind of coming back up. And honestly, I'll speak to our league, in particular. I think the talent has gotten just so much better, over the last handful of years. You're pretty much regularly seeing in a league game, you'll see, you're going to be seeing pitchers that are kind of that 84 to 87. You might see some guys running up to, upper 80s on a regular basis. In our league games, it wasn't like that when I started. There might have been 1 or 2 teams that had that kind of firepower, but I feel like, most every team in our league kind of has the ability, has at least 1 arm, 2 arms that can, shut you down on any given day. And it just just was not like that, 10 years ago, and, I'm not 100%, my theory on that is, there's a lot of college guys that are coming back. They like the idea of playing 3 or 4 games a week instead of playing 7 games a week in the Northwoods League.
Yeah.
I'm not knocking the Northwoods League because I did it for 2 summers myself. And it was I've had a lot of great times and moments and, experiences in my career. And that was an amazing experience for me because I knew I wasn't going to play professional baseball. So that was kind of my professional baseball.
Yeah.
Playing the North for 2 summers. And I've told every single college guy on my team that, I'm like, hey, if you want to go do it, go do it just to get that experience, see what it's like. And, I've never, I tell everybody, if you get the chance, you should do it in some capacity, whether it's a 10-day contract, half season, full season, whatever.
Yeah.
Just because it's an amazing experience pretty much night in, night out. I think a lot of guys, a lot of guys on my team have done that. They've taken the 10-day, the 20-day. But there's also a lot of guys that, like playing 3 or 4 days a week. They can have a job, steady job in the summer.
Yeah.
They can take vacation, take a vacation and not, lose a roster spot or be chastised or something like that.
Yeah.
With town ball, you can kind of do that, have a little bit of freedom to your summer while still, playing competitive baseball. So I think, that's kind of helped the talent in my opinion. But yeah, it's like I said, the game's growing. It's growing again, in my opinion. And, I hope it keeps on growing, so.
Yeah. And I do want to, you talked about obviously the Metro Minny League, and you're on the board. You've had various roles on the board as well, but the one thing I've noticed with the Metro Minny League is the web presence is really good. All the teams have like their own page pretty much, and they keep on it so that, someone goes on, they could check rosters and statistics and results and see kind of the history of some of the teams as well, which obviously helps, especially if someone's just looking to get into it or is interested or heard about it or anything like that. But, and then the Metro Minny League itself has a nice website. You can see it's, during the playoffs, it tells you who's in it and what's going on. And, a lot of the teams will have little small write-ups and things like that. I know that you guys do that for Champlin as well. You have a little write-up or something just, to let people know what's going on or what happened in the week. Just what's that? You're part of this board. Do you think the kind of organization that's there in the league helps kind of also bring in maybe some people and some talent and college kids to come in? Maybe they saw it online, they come in. And do you also think that helps grow the town baseball in the area to have that, to have that web presence?
I think so. I think there's a lot more. I would say even 6 years ago when I started kind of running the team, I think more kids are aware at a younger age of, town ball, and they're aware of, the teams that are in our league, especially in kind of the Northwest Suburban Conference, area of the Metro.
Yeah.
I think there's kids, I know there's kids that are freshmen, sophomores in high school that are becoming aware that this is an option, either during high school, after high school, during college, after college. I think they're getting aware more. They're becoming more aware earlier than I think they were.
Yeah.
And a large part of that goes, I'll give credit to, the league website presence, which is our league website's maintained by Adam Gallatin. He's the manager of Forest Lake. He also is the section commissioner.
Okay.
For, our Class B section, the league website. But, I also got a tip of the hat to, every other team in our league that does a good job of, keeping stats updated, making sure, kind of news gets disseminated, in a timely fashion or whatever. But yeah, it goes back to the, the digital era of things. I think kids are becoming more aware earlier. Kind of one of the things maybe you don't see too is, a lot of college guys, not only on my team, But on our teams in the league are coaching these travel teams, 12U, 13U, 14U. I mean, so these guys that I have on my team, they're also coaching on the side, and they have exposure to, these kids, as coaches. So they can kind of let them know, say, hey, I play for Champlin,
Yeah.
You should, if you're ever interested, let us know. And there's a lot of those conversations going on, from a lot of these guys and a lot of different, in a lot of different kind of travel programs as well. It was kind of cool to see, our first round game this year. I know Charlie Hutchinson, Ethan Maki were coaching a fall ball team for the Blizzard, and they were coaching in the morning. They came to our game in the afternoon, and then one of their, I think a couple of their kids from their team came out to Hamburg to watch that first round game, wearing his Blizzard jersey and everything and that sort of thing. So that's another cool aspect of Tom. But there's a lot of kids that'll play while they're in high school, and they get to play with their coaches, which is a very unique thing that you don't get in I don't know if there's anywhere else in the country where that kind of situation happens. And then it's not just it's not Sunday league or whatever. I mean, this is real competitive baseball, and it's kind of crazy too. It was that first round, the first round game against Hampton this year, their starting shortstop was going into his junior year in high school and never played a varsity game in his career, and he looked very much the part out there. But that's because he had some of his travel coaches for that Hampton team, and they got him on board, and he definitely looked the part out in the field, that sort of thing. And you'll see that on a variety of different teams, whether it be a small town Class C team that's, has 12 guys and needs the freshman third baseman, play to fill out a roster. And you'll see it on teams like, Hampton. And, it wasn't too long ago, we were playing high school juniors in the state tournament as well. So, I mean, I think, those two aspects have kind of led to a little more awareness in general, but also awareness earlier for, kind of prospective players and players coming up. I think, some of these guys see pretty quick that, this is pretty, it's pretty competitive baseball, and there's some really talented players, and, you can get a lot out of playing it. It's not, it's not, we take it pretty serious, and, there's some serious players. So.
Yeah. Also talking about sort of the coverage of everything, there's a little bit more coverage the last couple of years, obviously, but back again, doing research back, checking out some of the old teams and things, looking at different players, there used to be like 2-3 page spreads in the paper, like all the time, like huge coverage in certain areas. Obviously that waned, like we said, 70s, 80s, 90s, it kind of waned away even into the 2000s. And you've kind of have this web presence now, maybe trying to get more, coverage from different media and different just regular people as well. But, what do you see from that? And would you like to, like, as someone who's involved in the Metro Minny League and Champlin, like, would you like to see, maybe more coverage of all the teams around the state, kind of get people more into town baseball? Because I do feel like there seems to be like a little bit of a lax in coverage in some areas and maybe in some papers with some of the teams that are around. And as someone as myself who enjoys baseball and loves the raw form of the game, I know there's other people that would too. So I almost feel like there could be even more of a fan base if maybe there was more coverage, because a lot of people might not know it exists. So, I mean, just what are your thoughts on that part of it?
Yeah. And that's a great question. And I have my thoughts on it, but I think a lot of that kind of void really comes kind of in the metro area. There's definitely a lot of great programs that have some really good media coverage, like within the metro or just outside, mainly just outside the metro. Like I said, and it's, I mentioned before, it's like the Crow River Valley League and North Star League and those teams. I mean, they're Class C leagues, but I mean, those are all towns that are 10, 15, 20 minutes outside the suburbs. So, they're right there. But those teams have really great coverage. I mean, it's kind of when you get to the kind of the inner rug suburbs that it's, a little more challenging, just because, I mean, there's a lot more going on, and I think it really depends too. Some of it kind of has to do with your team makeup as well, that sort of thing. I mean, if you look at our roster, I mean, we play in Brooklyn Park, and we're Champlin Park, but I think we have 2 or 3 Champlin Park kids on the roster. And, we've talked about kind of why it is like it is, but if one of the things, if we had all Champlin Park kids, I think there might be more of a local following. And, there isn't. It is what it is. Yeah. I wouldn't trade, this team for anything. I'm really happy with, who we are as a team. Would I like to, kind of looking back on it, 2016, that was kind of the plan, kind of build it up, locally, and honestly, the one challenge I had, I'm not local, I'm not from here. Yeah. I'm not, I moved here at, 28, 29 years old. So I don't have a connect. I don't really have any connections anywhere. Whereas, you look at some of the other teams in our league, Adam Gallatin's Forest Lake, born and bred through and through. Jeff Lindstrom for Coon Rapids, he's Coon Rapids through and through. He's coached high school in that program. Centennial team that started up, I mean, they got a lot of Centennial kids. They're Centennial guys. They had kids grow up through that youth program. Anoka's really gone to a full, almost a full, Anoka, roster setup. That's kind of what they're aiming for. It just didn't work out that way, and part of it's me, I don't have the connections and that those guys do. And that plays a part in kind of roster construction, and that plays a part in, kind of local following too. But like I said, I mean, there's a lot of great outstate coverage and a lot of great coverage, very close to the Metro. I know, it was, even like the Meesville section. I mean, that's out by Red Wing. I mean, they have KDW, I think it's KDWA out of Hastings. If I remember, they live stream all their games. They have a radio presence. Dundas, that section does really good. Dundas has a good following. They do some really cool things at their park and some things to create awareness. And I mean, Dundas is the town of baseball. It's one of those towns where, a small town just outside Northfield, everybody goes to the game. Everybody knows who the Dukes are, but it's kind of things. It's just far enough outside the cities to, kind of garner that kind of following. So, I think a lot of the media coverage, in terms of individual teams, the challenge lies, for those, the Metro teams kind of within the loop or just outside the 494, 694 loop. Yeah. I mean, I would love to see it grow even more. That's probably the next challenge for myself, is, if we can't do that. But like I said, when you don't have local ties, it makes it a little more challenging. So, but, like I said, the Crow has Kip Kovar, for the Crow River Review. I think it is. He does an amazing job. I think Rob LaPlante is out in Buffalo. He does an amazing job, covering out there, a lot of those guys. It's the media coverage for them. It's great. It's pretty fun to watch from a distance. Someday, maybe, hopefully, but we'll worry about, ourselves and trying to win some ball games, and hopefully the coverage will follow. If we keep winning ball games, the coverage will follow.
Yeah. I do want to say too, because you talk about the local ties, for anyone listening, like, if you're in Minnesota and you're Minnesota Twins fans, how many people from Minnesota are on the Minnesota Twins, or the St. Paul Saints. I always look at it as the identity of the team. Like, if there's a Champlin team and you're in Champlin, like, you root for Champlin, maybe, unless you have ties to another team in another way. But if you're just looking for a team to root for, but or if you're in Forest Lake or Centennial or any of those teams as well, Blaine, whatever. I do understand that with the local ties, but you all, like you said, you play in, Brooklyn Park and Noble Sports Park as well. So maybe that has a little bit to do too, where people wouldn't know where to go or whatever, but there is a web presence. So if there are people out there that are interested, you could definitely go to the Logators website and check that out, or to the Metro Minny website and check out all the teams. Cause you guys play from May all the way until through September if you make the Labor Day weekend. So for the state, the last 4 at state. So I mean, it's a lot of time to catch a game, right?
I think I'm trying to remember. I think our first game was last weekend of April this year.
Yeah. Wow. That's
last game was Sunday. What was it? Saturday of Labor Day weekend. So
yeah.
Yes. It's funny. Like it's you say it and it sounds like a long season, but it sure didn't feel that way.
It goes fast. Yeah.
Fast. So.
Yeah. I mean, I also obviously work for the Sun Post, for those that don't know, just a local paper in the metro area in the Twin Cities, and covering it. We're a weekly paper, so it'll be like, go to a couple games during the regular season. All of a sudden, like, it's the playoff time, and I'm just like, wow, like it's just crazy how much it passes. And I always sometimes wish they give me more resources to do a little bit more, but there's hopefully maybe I'll have time to do some independent things in the future as well. So we'll see about that, because I do enjoy it, and I love the town ball atmosphere. Like I said before to everyone, I mean, I'm a big baseball fan, so I'm a fan of a lot of sports, but just seeing that kind of raw form of the game is just really cool to see. I also want to talk. Obviously, you play in Brooklyn Park Noble Sports Park. There used to be a Brooklyn Park team, and they folded. And obviously, teams fold sometimes, and it's just kind of what happens sometimes, just based on where people are. Sometimes people move, or a veteran team kind of all retires at the same time, and there wasn't enough younger guys to kind of take the reins. But there is kind of a little bit of a cost of having a team too. Like we said, people have lives, jobs, things like that. But there's also, like, you got to worry about getting people to games. So there's transportation costs for everybody, and then you have to have the gear and the uniforms, and then the field. I'm guessing you have to like get permission to use fields and do maintenance and all that as well. So I mean, how do you help get those funds? Is that kind of donations? You kind of put money together. And then you had the pandemic, and I know you said that people were coming out to games more because looking for something to do, but were there challenges with that too, if you do depend on certain donations and stuff like that?
Right. Yeah, it's it's a challenge every year, to do that. We have our players pay a fee. I wish it wasn't, wish they didn't have to, but they play a player fee, and then we do fundraising on the side, and then I do some individual stuff on the side to kind of supplement everything. I mean, we don't, if you're, I don't know if anybody out there will be familiar with Noble Sports Park, but there's no, we don't charge admission. There's no way we could charge admission if we wanted to, just based on the layout of the park. No concessions or anything like that. So, I mean, we play, our guys pay a player fee. We do some fundraising in the off season. We usually try to do, I think this past year we did, kind of a Super Bowl boards sort of fundraiser. Okay. In the past, we've done a bowling tournament, which is really, it's a really fun event. We usually do it around kind of early January when college guys are still in town. Okay. I mean, first and foremost, it's just a really good way. It's a really fun way to get everybody back together again, before the season starts. And, since, most of us we haven't seen each other since September, we haven't been in one place in September. So we usually do that early January, and, it's more of a social gathering than a tournament, but it's a nice, easy way to make a few bucks to kind of supplement things. We've had sponsors in the past, Champlin Athletic, who's our equipment supplier. They've been pretty gracious with some of their funds, discounts, that sort of thing. Northlake Brewing and Kilbrew Root Beer kind of supported us for a few years. That was, I think 5-8 Club in Champlin, was in for 1 year too. And, that's kind of basically to generate the sponsorships. It's basically me taking my lunch hour and kind of, picking 6 to 8 businesses, knocking on doors, and, leaving a card and a solicitation letter, that sort of thing. Yeah. Yeah, it's in terms of sponsorships, that's kind of where that local connection kind of comes in that I don't have. That makes it a little more difficult. But in terms of like sponsors, that's kind of the route that I've taken the last few years. And just various fundraisers and that sort of stuff too. Yeah, it's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge. It's not it's probably, I think it's everybody's least favorite part of, being part of a town ball team. That's it. I do my best to kind of take a majority of the brunt, the brunt of it. And, I just want guys to worry, I just want to worry about playing ball, and, if I need help, I'll usually reach out and ask for help where it's needed. But those are some of the things that we've done, in the past. Like I said, we've ran youth baseball tournaments. We've done various raffles, casino bus trips. Yeah. I mean, a little bit of everything. Yeah. It's not cheap to run a team, from a financial standpoint, but we're doing okay for, all things considered, we're doing okay. So, but yeah, that's kind of a glimpse into the, the fun and the funding. So,
yeah.
So if anybody out there is listening, you want to sponsor a baseball team, I'll throw your logo on our hat. I mean, I'll put your logo wherever you want it. If you want in. So,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is nice to get some local businesses and everything to support as well. I'm guessing if it keeps kind of growing and there's more interested in as well, there might be more businesses interested in sponsoring teams because they know people are out there looking at getting awareness out for their brand or anything like that as well. So I'm guessing that all goes hand in hand as well. All right, so obviously you're going to be going on a dozen seasons now with Champlin. You've been playing for a while and you've been playing for a while and obviously you just had the success. So I'm guessing you're not thinking of stopping anytime soon. But do you ever see yourself like a date or a year when you might stop, or is it just you can see yourself playing for a very long time? And also, does it help to have guys? You got Nick Larson, Ryan Bruns, Ryan Udis, they're nearing 20 years, things like that. So, when you have different veterans like that too, does that also help just to keep playing, keep going?
Yeah. I mean, that, having those guys has been, amazing. They love this team probably, if not as much, if not more than I do. And they've been, amazing resources and help to, kind of keep it going, kind of, support my ideas and support the team in any way they can. So, I mean, they've been great. I don't know that I envision a date when I'll fully stop playing.
Yeah.
I will say, breaking news, I'm not going to fully retire from playing this year, but I'm probably going to take a step back from playing this coming year, going forward. I kind of have something in the works with, a catcher for next year.
Okay.
Just from the fact that I'm, I was pretty much injured the whole year. I was just playing through injury and it's still undiagnosed. So good job by me to go to a doctor right after the season. Right. So, but yeah, I was playing hurt the whole year. And, I'm 39 or 37 years old and I've basically been, primary catcher. Even my first few years I was pitching on top of it. And, the body isn't quite holding up like it used to. I'm definitely going to try to kind of get myself in shape the best I can kind of this off season, just to be available when called upon or when needed. Yeah, I mean, early, right before the state tournament, I can't remember if we talked about it or not, but I had a little scare with my heart, right before the state tournament. I was in the hospital a couple of days before. So that kind of opened my eyes a little bit to, kind of, do some different things to kind of, try to I'm trying to, get myself, not in shape, because I feel like I'm still in pretty good shape minus the injury I played through. But
yeah,
there's oftentimes kind of towards the end of careers, there's kind of some, signals that kind of pop up, and kind of playing hurt this whole year, and that the hospital, kind of the hospital visit before the state tournament, combined with how we did, in the state tournament, just with, not that, I'm, the best player on the team by any means, but, just seeing how everybody performed, kind of with my limited role. I think I had two pinch hits, and, I caught and DH for myself, and, the next, I think we have, plenty of talent that, I'm not necessarily needed. And I think there's been just kind of looking at it too, kind of for other teams across the state. I know it's happened multiple times where, maybe the veterans that hang on a little bit too long kind of stunt the growth of the team. And I don't necessarily want to be responsible, for stunting the growth of this team, by trying to hang on, to, 1 year too long or 2 years too long from a playing standpoint. Well, I still put myself out there to play. Yeah, probably a little bit, but I think I only had like 70 at bats this year. And I mean, I might take half that many next year, and we'll just have to see what happens. But, kind of going back to the veterans on the team, I think you got Jeff Hoyer and kind of Ryan Bruns are kind of the two like veteran guys that are 30 plus that are still, producing and, still, really leading this team. And, as long as you're still producing, you're always gonna have a chance and be in that lineup and that sort of thing. And, when I should backtrack to say, when I say veterans hanging on too long, I'm specifically talking about, myself, and I don't want to be the cause of that. I'm not talking about Bruns or anybody else on this team, because those guys are, the heart of this team, and they're still producing and still, really leading this team and, setting, a great example for the young guys and showing them, what it means to be, a competitor, so, and other guys have taken over the years and that sort of thing. And, that's another great thing about this team is, guys, I think everybody kind of knows their role and knows where they sit and that sort of thing. I just want to see this team, keep growing and keep getting better, and, hopefully make it to the promised land someday. But, I don't want to be the reason that we don't do it. So that's kind of, from a playing standpoint, that's kind of what I'm thinking, going forward. And, I have a couple young kids too. I have 7-year-old, 4-year-old. So, I mean, there'll be days where, they'll be doing stuff too that I'll have to, take a day off, take a game off here, go to a basketball camp, go to a softball answer that sort of thing. It's just the reality of things. But, I mean, I think, kind of just overall this team's in a really great spot. And, I'm excited to see where we're headed, the next few years.
Yeah, obviously, hoping for recovery from any kind of ailments and injuries and all that. Obviously, as we all get older, we have to deal with stuff, and especially, athletes. And the one thing I do, want to add, anyone that knows baseball knows this. Anyone who maybe isn't as familiar or is just a casual fan might not, but catching. The catcher position's the hardest in baseball, obviously. I mean, you take a beating behind the plate, you got to block pitches. There's a lot going in. You're crouching the whole time, which is difficult enough. And there's just a lot involved. And, things can happen. You get hit with a ball, a bat accidentally, it's a tough position. And anyone, obviously, you watch the any kind of Major League Baseball, you kind of get amazed that some of these guys, some of the stuff that they go through to play 160 games, and it's very difficult. to be a catcher. And you know, when you look at yourself, you know, being a catcher, battling through any kind of ailments and injuries that you've had over the years, did you ever think when you started out, you know, high school into college, that you would still be playing when you were 37 and you know, having opportunities like you've had?
No. No, if you would have told me 37 years old that I would still be, you know, playing competitive baseball, I probably wouldn't have believed you. I'm very, very lucky to be able to still be playing, you know, competitive baseball at, you know, a pretty high level, you know, really facing off against college guys, you know, day in and day out when, you know, we're out there. Yeah, I mean, in the back of my head, I always thought if I was back in the state, back in Minnesota, after I'd moved to Omaha, is at that point I was trying to work, you know, in college athletics. So that really could have taken me anywhere.
Yeah.
I kind of had in the back of my head, you know, if I was back in Minnesota, I'd kind of want to try to play again in some capacity at some point. But to say, you know, to tell me that I'd be playing at 37, I would never have, you know, thought I'd be playing that long. So you know, there's a lot of guys, you know, there's a lot of other guys that have been playing longer than me and older than me, but you know, there's not too many, but yeah, it's crazy to think about. So, but yeah, I never would have thought it. I'm very lucky to actually, you know, be able to do it and be, you know, competitive doing it too, not just, you know, a body out there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that obviously is one of the other things about town ball too, is because you'll have 20-year-olds on a team, a couple 40-year-olds, sometimes 30-year-olds. I love the age mix as well with the competitiveness, because you know, and it's also funny too. There's you know, I've seen, you know, so there'll be, you know, kids coming out of college coming to, you know, play amateur baseball, and maybe they're thinking they're going to just light everybody up, but then they're struck out by like a 35, 40-year-old, you know. There's obviously a huge competitiveness, and you still got to be used to the league and used to getting at bats and used to seeing the pitchers as well. So I just love that kind of, I mean, it's just there's a wide range of different types of ages and people in the game. And that's pretty cool to see, for sure.
Funny, Nick Larson on our team, the guy that started our team, he's actually older than a couple of the younger guys' dads. He's older than their dads that are on the team. So that's a age range of, you know, any given town ball team. So
yeah,
we're not the only team like that either. So
yeah. So, you know, a couple last things here before we finish up. One, you know, I'm guessing this past season's one of them, but you know, what are your favorite memories playing with Champlin, managing with Champlin? You know, just what are things that you think are just going to stick with you, you know, through for years to come? You know,
I mean, the state tournament this year, every game was just so hard fought and so close and so, you know, so competitive. You know, those. I mean, I'm still going back now and watching the games, you know, that, you know, on the streaming package that I had.
Yeah.
You know, I'll probably still do that as long as they're available. But I mean, this year was super memorable. Boy, there's a lot of off the field stuff I can't really talk about.
Yeah, I bet.
And that's the great part about town ball too, is a lot of the memories, you know, a lot of the memories off the field are, you know, what keeps a lot of us coming back. We've been to several Nimrod tournaments, like I mentioned earlier in the podcast. There's several memories that I can't talk about from that, but we always talk, you know, that tournament. I would say, you know, from a game standpoint, you know, the 2000, I gotta think back now. I think 2018 and 19, or is it 18, 19 or 17, 18, the two Monticello series we had to get to the state tournament were both 3-game series, hotly contested, a lot of weird things going on in both those series. those were very memorable. I guess our coming out party in 2013 at the super sections, making it there. In the section tournament, Zach Heckert, he basically pitches for us now, hit a 2-run home run in the bottom of the 8th inning in the state qualifying game against Elk River. Literally a tomahawk chop at his neck. Softball player. So that's kind of why it worked out. But full count, bottom of the 8th, tie game, and he hits a 2-run homer, to, bring us to, our essentially our first super section. 2013, 2014, we won the Moorhead Brewers tournament that featured a lot of good teams, and including, that Moorhead Brewers team, that kind of, that was kind of the beginning of kind of putting us on the map before, the youth infusion.
Yeah.
Boy, yeah, there's a lot of great on the field memories, and it's tough to pick out a few. A lot of crazy endings, a lot of heated contests with ejections, and here's one memory which is crazy. My very first game in 2012, we were playing at Jerry Rapelius in Champlin. That was where our home field at the time, 2012 and 13. That was kind of our 2012 very first game I'm playing. I think we're down 1 in the 9th, and there's a pop up down the first baseline. Game's gonna hit by Nick Larson. Game's gonna be over. He basically trucks over the first baseman at the pop up. Both benches clear. Guys are, it's the old baseball fight. Guys are holding each other back, hugging each other. We took it kind of into the fence, the first baseline fence, but. The very first game I was a part of, we almost got in a massive brawl. So that's one that will stick out with me. I'll never forget, the kid that tried to, he basically tried to confront Nick after that. And if Nick's about 6'5", 320, and this kid was about 6'1", and the kid came after Nick, and Nick grabbed him, and the look in that kid's eye, I don't think I've ever seen so much fear on a baseball field as I did in that kid's eye, because I was standing right there when it happened. Yeah. But at that point, I'm like, well, what did I get myself into? But I tell you what, it's I'm glad I got into it, because it's been, an amazing, 11 years. So wouldn't trade it for anything. For sure.
All right. So, finishing up here, I do want to give you a chance to tell everyone what they're missing out by not supporting their local baseball teams. There's a lot of people, obviously, I'm guessing now with the baseball playoffs going on, maybe casual fans, they watch, maybe they're into that, but maybe there's other people that watch Major League Baseball or minor leagues or St. Paul Saints, things like that in our area, or anywhere else. You watch your minor league teams or your major league team, whatever that is. But, maybe they don't know anything about town ball. So, what would you tell someone who likes baseball, loves baseball, but maybe doesn't know that there's this other kind of localized game that could be going on right in their backyard, essentially?
Yeah, I would just encourage everybody to, kind of keep an eye on, our league website, metrominny.com. Our website's logatorbaseball.com. Yeah, I would just, I would keep an eye, on our websites. Basically, a lot of our rosters are kind of filled with Division II, Division III, junior college, basically college players of all levels. You'll see an occasional, professional, ex-professional player. Just down the road, 40 minutes away, Loretto, Minnesota, Corey Koski's playing town ball. He just played first year playing town ball for the Loretto Larks. His sons are on that. But it's very competitive baseball. It's just guys that love to play the game, are very passionate and competitive. We play our home games at Noble Sports Park. They're kind of in the midst of a renovation there. So I think there's going to be some upgrades in the next, 2 to 3 years to that park to make it a little more fun to watch a baseball game at. But yeah, like I said, from end of April to, beginning of August, hopefully to end of September, there's probably going to be games on a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Sunday over at Noble Sports Park. So I just encourage everybody to come out, free admission. bring your BYOB, bring your own beverage and food. We have a nice, if you want to go that route, there's a little hill in center field and right field, right off the overpass over 610. But if you want to sit there, but like I said, it's an open, it's an open park. Come out, watch some ball. And, if you want to come say hi after the game, you might get a beer from me after the game too. So.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. It's been awesome to talk to you, and maybe we could do this again, maybe before next season. Talk about upcoming season and just the league in general and all that, and getting excited for that kind of stuff. I'm sure that might give even more people into it. I know I'd be interested in that kind of stuff. So
yeah, it was really good talking some baseball again. It's nice to have a week or two buffer at the end of the year, but I miss it pretty quick. This was last just talking ball again, talking to you again, and yeah, I mean I'm down anytime you wanna talk a little town ball, a little baseball. I'm always up for it. So I appreciate you having me and kind of let me ramble on about my career in baseball and town ball. So.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So thanks to everyone who's been listening and supporting the SunDried Tomatoes podcast and YouTube channel. Thanks to everyone who has subscribed and downloaded the podcast, and to those who have subscribed to my YouTube channel. This wouldn't be possible with all of your support, and I really do appreciate it. And thanks again to Matt Marek for joining me this month. Until next month, salut.